The modernist marriage and the traditional wedding to the divine bridegroom of every soul. Once again, there was an incredible dream overnight, and, as usual, it was filled with so much awe and with wonder. You find yourself among people you know in a place that appears unfamiliar. This is the scene. You are preparing to marry for a second time. Note that this student teacher married on the feast of St. Philomena, August the 11th in 1989, during a modern Holy Mass, not having a clue of what happened to Christ's Catholic Church in modern times, because no one had spoken of it, and also never having known of or seen the traditional Tridentine holy sacrifice of the Mass, because in most places it was no longer allowed. Attending daily Holy Mass was not even a consideration, nor had you ever even seen a chapel veil. Some churches no longer had kneelers or pews. They had row after row of chairs instead. Christ's high altars were gone, the churches stripped of the sacred, the altar inverted on Mount Calvary to focus attention on the priest and on the will of the people. Many nuns no longer wore habits. They looked a lot like men and behaved a lot like deceivers. Some of them even ran the Catholic schools in place of Christ's priests. That was Lucifer's goal right under God's own roof, to replace the consecrated hands of Catholic priests with the unconsecrated hands of women in order to eradicate the divine Holy Eucharist. Love for the Blessed Sacrament was replaced by a love for acquiring ever more money, which is the root of all evil. The tabernacle was moved from front and center, and the church was surrounded by collection baskets. No wonder we saw during that time one sacramental marriage after another failing by Luciferian design. The focus shifted from honoring God's greatest two commandments, love the Lord your God above all else and one's neighbor as oneself, to loving and serving oneself at all costs to everyone else. Back to the dream overnight. Everyone is helping, and the search is on for him, the second groom, among those you know, including among some friends of the man you had sacramentally married. You have not seen his friends since Lucifer convinced your husband to secretly hire a lawyer and file for a civil divorce, which was granted in the year 2002 when you were 37 and your 3 children were 3, 5, and 7. His self-interest had destroyed the marriage well before the divorce he wanted was granted. Thanks be to God for the 3 wonderful children of reparation God blessed that treasonous union with, while all the adults in the dream are helping with the arranging, including Catholics who by Luciferian design had learned nothing about the one true faith in our time. No one wants to marry you. No wonder. True story. Deciding on the wedding dress. You then find yourself with your late sister, who is helping inside a room that has a closet, deciding among 2 white traditional wedding dresses. Again, you find yourself following along with this narrative as in so many other dreams in the recent past, and with such incredible awe and with wonder. The time for the sacramental marriage in church is drawing near, but nothing changes except for the dress. The search for a suitable groom and wedding garment. When it is time to leave for the Catholic Church, you find yourself saying to yourself, I can't wear white. This is a second marriage, and it isn't appropriate. Nor do you find the style of the traditional white wedding gown for the young bride appropriate in your case. The next thing you know, you are outfitted in a purple garment, and then leave for the church. Remember, purple symbolizes royalty, contrition, and reparation. After arriving at the church, still there is no groom, because no one wants to marry you. Keep in mind that not only is this a traditional Catholic mystical wedding theology lesson for every soul, the dream is a metaphor for the fact that very few people are willing to accomplish the will of God as He wills it, in imitation of and in union with Christ crucified, with purity of intention, devoid of self-interest, without counting the personal cost, and while worshiping no idols of any kind. No one wants to be part of Christ's mission during the dream that spends itself as Almighty God wills, because people are so self-interested. They have, by Luciferian design, been conditioned in our time to be that way and to remain that way, or even better for Lucifer, to get even worse. Each one of us has a fallen human nature, and without God, no one can overcome it. Another problem is so few are taught about God in our time correctly. Few people are willing to become His teachers. It is too personally costly. One will pay dearly in imitation of and in union with Christ. So you arrive at the church outfitted in penance, reparation, and contrition, and still there is no groom for this wedding. The one who wants to wed you is divine. True story. So all have gathered in this church that appears unfamiliar, and in a place that appears unfamiliar, for a wedding, and you explain the situation as described above to them all, as they all stand there in awe and with such wonder. Only your children and two people who appear unfamiliar, a man and a woman, understand God's will, and together the five of them kneel on the ground where they were standing, after having heard what you said, and immediately begin praying in a corner at the base of a staircase by the door. They pray right away that God's will is accomplished. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Even if Catholics faithful to tradition are reduced to a handful, they are the true church of Jesus Christ. Saint Athanasius. Wed for life, the dining room, the two priests, the bathroom, and the royal wedding. Let no man divide those whom Almighty God has joined at the foot of Christ's cross on Mount Calvary. Until death they are, by divine decree, and by the consent of each one's free will, to remain united, serving God alone, while sanctifying one another and helping one another get to heaven. It is even more important to wed Christ, the divine bridegroom of every soul, for life, and to remain faithful to Him first and foremost, never to be parted, not ever. You then find yourself having moved to another room, and it appears like a dining hall, almost like a bar that serves food, with a dining area that has wooden tables and chairs. While standing beside a long wooden table in the center of the room, you talk to a young woman who works there, and she has some sort of ticket for you that confirms your place here. Your inner circle has accompanied you to this room, which used to be a traditional Catholic church. Now it is a bar that serves food. You had come to be wed during the holy sacrifice of the Mass, and all of a sudden a priest who looks unfamiliar walks up to you. He is the celebrant, is about 6 feet tall, and is wearing black clerical garments and a white Roman collar. His hair is gray, but he does not appear aged. He begins speaking very fast, and you have to keep stopping him to inform him of the truth, as he has been corrupted, meaning improperly taught, by modernist Luciferianism that has masqueraded as Catholicism, but it isn't. He talks so fast, but stops talking when you interject the truth, and every time you speak, he listens. It is as if God has commanded him to listen to you. Note that you represent I Am's work of reparation to the holy face of Jesus in modern times from here in traditional Catholic Detroit, and the priestess having to listen to the divine authority of God speaking through those willing to accomplish His will as He wills it. You, on your own, are incapable of doing anything good. There are supposed to be 2 priests concelebrating this wedding, but there aren't. There is another priest who is supposed to be here also, it is made known to you. A second priest. But in his place a man joins the discussion. He is a deacon and is wearing a gray suit. Thanks be to God, he doesn't say anything. The apostolic mission in modern times. Thanks be to God, you are here to wed Jesus Christ, the divine bridegroom of every soul, our divine redeemer, divine restorer, and divine remedy for all. What you have in your hand for the wedding. You are holding a black veil and suddenly leave the men to find the bathroom so you can put it on before the wedding. You encounter a kind couple, a man and a woman who are husband and wife, and talk to them. They show you where the bathroom is. Perhaps they represent Our Lady and Saint Joseph. Following their instructions, you leave them to go through a door, where you see a narrow hallway that leads to a small room, down a few stairs, and it has a toilet in it, along with a small sink and a mirror. The small room containing the toilet is very old and run down, and it represents Christ's traditional Catholic Church in modern times, particularly the confessional, and it is also slightly underwater. You are happy to see this small bathroom, and you think to yourself regarding the mirror, that is all I need to put on my black chapel veil before the wedding. The saint and his 35-chapter manuscript. While in the hallway beyond the doors to the dining hall bar that had formerly been a traditional Catholic church, the one that led to the tiny rundown bathroom that was flooded, the hallway began expanding and it appeared like a storage room. Piled up in the middle, to the right of where you were standing in the hallway, there was a very large and disregarded pile of manuscripts. It was made known to you that they are the writings of a saint whose name was revealed in the dream, and which you can no longer remember. And 35 chapters or volumes of his work in the Lord's service had been hidden here in a disregarded back room next to the dilapidated bathroom, meaning the information had been kept from God's people, following the modernist invasion in our time. In our triune God we totally trust, through the maternal intercession of Our Lady, the Virgin of the globe, and the paternal intercession of Saint Joseph. Trust all things to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, and to Mary, help of Christians, and you will see what miracles are. Saint John Bosco. To learn more about Almighty God, our Father of mercies, work of reparation to the holy face of Jesus through time and in our modern time, your vital, irreplaceable, indispensable, and God-given holy apostolate of reparation, devotion for the dying, divine justice for every soul, for prayers for the holy souls in purgatory, and for more Catholic catechism, visit www.theworkofreparation-to-the-holy-face-of-Jesus.com. Jesus said to Sister Mary of St. Peter, "By my holy face you will work wonders, appease the anger of God, and draw down mercy on sinners," and he still means it.